I had dreamed of this moment for months. After working as a financial advisor for 45 years, I finally wanted to create lasting memories with my daughter Jessica and her family. The $25,000 I transferred to her account wasn't just money. It was my hope for reconnecting with my grandchildren, Emma and Tyler, in paradise. But as I stood in the bustling departure terminal at LAX, rolling my carefully packed suitcase behind me, Jessica's words shattered everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. "Mom, I have terrible news," Jessica said, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of travelers rushing to their gates. The Hawaiian Airlines counter stretched before us, busy with excited families, clutching boarding passes and wearing fresh layers. My stomach dropped at her tone, though I tried to remain optimistic. "What kind of terrible news?" I asked, though something in her expression already made my heart race. She wouldn't look directly at me, instead staring at the departure board, where flight information flickered and changed. "I forgot to book your ticket," she said, the words hanging in the air like a physical barrier between us. "I'm so sorry, but there's no seat for you on the plane." The world seemed to tilt slightly. Around us, families moved with purpose and excitement, children chattering about beaches and snorkeling, their joy suddenly feeling like a mockery of my situation. "You forgot?" My voice came out smaller than intended. "Jessica, we've been planning this for 4 months. I gave you the money specifically to handle all the arrangements." I know," she said, finally meeting my eyes for just a moment. "Work has been absolutely insane, and with coordinating everyone's schedules, it slipped through the cracks." I was already moving toward the check-in counter, my suitcase wheels clicking rhythmically against the polished floor. This had to be fixable. Airlines dealt with these situations all the time. "Excuse me," I called to the agent behind the counter, her crisp blue uniform and professional smile offering hope. "I need to check availability for today's flight to Honolulu." The woman's fingers danced across her keyboard as she accessed the reservation system. "Certainly. What name should I look under?" "Margaret Chen," I replied, spelling out my last name carefully. "But there seems to be an issue with my booking." More typing, a pause, then her smile faded slightly. "I don't see any reservation under that name. Are you sure it was booked with Hawaiian Airlines?" My chest tightened as I turned to look for Jessica. But she had moved away from the counter, now pacing near a coffee shop with her phone pressed to her ear. I could see her husband David in the distance, corralling Emma and Tyler near the security checkpoint, both children wearing matching Hawaiian t-shirts. I had bought them specifically for this trip. If you're enjoying this story of family drama and unexpected consequences, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest content. Stories like these remind us how important it is to stand up for ourselves, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. "Let me try a broader search," the agent offered kindly. "What dates were you hoping to travel?" "Today, right now." My daughter and her family should already have their reservations. She nodded, continuing to search through her system. "I do see a reservation under Jessica Chen Williams. Party of 4, departing at 3:45 p.m., but there's no Margaret Chen associated with that booking." The terminal seemed to spin around me. "That's impossible. Please check again." "I've checked multiple times, ma'am. Would you like me to see what's available on standby, or perhaps tomorrow's flight?" Hope flickered in my chest. "Yes, anything available today. I'll pay whatever it costs." "I'm sorry, but we're completely sold out today. There's a medical convention in Honolulu this week." "I could check tomorrow, but first-class seats would run about $2,800 without advance booking." Jessica appeared at my side, her hand touching my arm with false comfort. "Mom, we need to talk." I shook her off, still focused on the agent. "What about other airlines? Surely someone has availability." "I'm afraid not. United has a waiting list of over 50 people, and Alaska Airlines is booked solid through next week." "Mom, listen to me." Jessica's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. "The vacation is happening today. My family is already through security." "Then we find another way to get me there," I insisted, my hands trembling slightly as I gripped my purse. "I paid for this entire trip. There has to be a solution." "No." The word was flat and final. "There isn't." The departure board flickered above us, showing the 3:45 Hawaiian flight with "final boarding" in red letters. Jessica glanced at her watch with obvious agitation. "Jessica, you're frightening me. What's really going on here?" She checked her phone again, scrolling through what looked like text messages. "What's going on is that you need to go home, Mom. We'll manage the vacation somehow." "Manage?" My voice cracked with disbelief. "I paid $25,000 for everything. The resort, the activities, the rental car, all of it." "And we appreciate that," she said, but her tone suggested anything but gratitude. "But standing here arguing isn't helping anyone." The air conditioning hummed overhead, but I felt hot and dizzy. Nothing made sense. 4 months of excited planning sessions, family dinners where we discussed luau's and volcano tours, bedtime stories I'd told Emma and Tyler about swimming with sea turtles. Now Jessica was treating me like some unwanted burden. "Just go home," she repeated, already backing toward the security checkpoint. "We'll send pictures from the hotel." That's when I saw it in her eyes. Not panic about a forgotten reservation, not guilt about an honest mistake. Relief. Pure, unmistakable relief that she was leaving me behind. Jessica turned and walked briskly toward the gate, her designer carry-on bag rolling smoothly behind her. She didn't look back once as she disappeared into the crowd, leaving me standing beside my suitcase in the middle of the terminal like abandoned luggage. The Hawaiian Airlines agent recognized me immediately when I returned to her counter, my legs shaky and my mind reeling from Jessica's abrupt departure. "Ma'am, were you able to work things out with your daughter?" "Actually, I need you to check something for me," I said, my voice steadier than I felt inside. "That reservation under Jessica Chen Williams, when was it originally made?" She hesitated, glancing toward the security area where Jessica had vanished. "I'm not supposed to share detailed booking information, but..." Her fingers moved across the keyboard. "It shows here that the reservation was made 8 weeks ago. Party of 4. 2 adults, 2 children. 8 weeks ago. Not 4 months when we'd first started discussing the Hawaiian vacation. Not last week when Jessica claimed she was, quote, finalizing all the details. 8 weeks ago, when she had already decided I wouldn't be part of the family trip. And were there ever any attempts to modify the reservation? Add additional passengers?" The agent's expression grew more sympathetic as she continued checking. "No, ma'am. The booking has remained unchanged since the initial reservation. No additions, no modifications at all." My legs felt weak. I gripped the counter's edge, the cool metal grounding me as the full scope of Jessica's deception became clear. This wasn't a forgotten booking or poor planning. This was deliberate exclusion after taking my money. "What about other flights to Honolulu this week?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. She checked again, her expression growing more concerned with each search. "I'm afraid everything is completely booked through next Tuesday due to the medical convention. Southwest has a red-eye tomorrow night with 2 stops arriving Thursday afternoon, but it's quite expensive at $2,100. Next Tuesday." The vacation would be nearly over by then. I reached for my wallet but stopped. In the distance, I could see the gate where Jessica's family was probably boarding right now. David would be helping the kids with their carry-on bags. Emma would be chattering about seeing dolphins, and Jessica would be texting her friends about how she'd handled the situation with her problematic mother. "Ma'am?" The agent's voice seemed to come from far away. "About that Southwest flight? Would you like me to hold it while you decide?" I looked at her kind face, her genuine concern for a confused older woman, and suddenly felt embarrassed. This wasn't her problem. This was family betrayal, the kind of ugly truth that should remain private. "The Hawaiian flight," I said quietly. Is it still boarding? Final boarding call ended 5 minutes ago. They're probably closing the doors now. As if summoned by her words, an announcement crackled over the intercom. Hawaiian Airlines Flight 293 to Honolulu is now closed for boarding. All ticketed passengers should be on board. I turned toward the gate area. Even from here, I could see the last few stragglers rushing down the terminal corridor, families with children in tow, vacation-bound travelers heading to paradise together. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Sorry again, Mom. We'll call from the hotel. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself." Like I was some burden she'd finally managed to shed. No explanation, no real apology, just a casual dismissal after taking $25,000 in 4 months of my excitement and planning. About that Southwest flight, the agent said gently, "I can hold it for 15 minutes if you'd like to consider it." "No," I said, sliding my phone back into my purse. "No, I don't think so." "Are you sure?" "I can." I'm sure. Because suddenly, standing in that terminal with the sound of rolling luggage and excited travelers around me, I realized something important. This wasn't about a forgotten ticket, or poor planning, or even Jessica's selfishness. This was about who they thought I was, someone who could be taken advantage of and discarded when convenient. The departure board updated again. Flight 293 now showed departed in stark black letters. Jessica and her family were airborne, probably already receiving complimentary beverages and congratulating themselves on a problem solved. I picked up my suitcase handle and walked toward the exit, but I wasn't defeated. Every step away from that gate was a step toward clarity. They had made a calculation about Margaret Chen, that I would quietly go home, perhaps complain a little, but ultimately accept being thrown away like trash. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The automatic doors slid open, and I stepped into the California afternoon air, already formulating my next move. Behind me, the terminal hummed with travelers heading to their dream destinations. I was heading to mine too. It just wasn't the one they expected. 3 weeks had passed since I'd stood in that terminal, watching my daughter disappear into the crowd like I was nothing more than an inconvenience to be discarded. But those 3 weeks hadn't been spent wallowing in self-pity. They'd been the most productive weeks of my life, filled with phone calls, legal consultations, and careful planning. Now, as I stood in the same LAX terminal beside my attorney, Patricia Reeves, I felt the calm confidence of someone who had reclaimed their power. Patricia's leather briefcase contained documents that would change everything. Legal papers that represented justice, not revenge. "Flight 294 from Honolulu has landed," Patricia said quietly, checking her phone. "They should be coming through customs within the next 20 minutes. I nodded, adjusting my position near the international arrivals area. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a confused, hurt woman dragging her suitcase home in defeat. Today, I was someone who had learned the difference between being generous and being a fool. The first passengers began emerging through the sliding doors marked, "Nothing to declare." Tanned families with shell necklaces, couples laden with duty-free shopping bags, business travelers checking their phones, the familiar flow of people returning from paradise. Then I saw them. Emma appeared first, skipping alongside her father David, both of them sporting deep tans and carrying souvenir bags from various Hawaiian attractions. Tyler followed, wearing a Maui Strong t-shirt and clutching a stuffed sea turtle, his face animated as he chattered about something he'd seen on the beach. Jessica emerged last, wheeling an oversized suitcase and looking completely relaxed. Her Hawaiian sundress and flower print sarong spoke of someone who'd had a worry-free vacation, someone who'd successfully solved her mother problem 3 weeks ago. Emma spotted me first. "Grandma!" She broke away from the group and ran toward me, her shell bracelet jingling as she moved. "We missed you so much!" "Wait until you see the pictures of the volcano." I knelt down to hug her, feeling her small arms wrap around my neck with the innocent love that only grandchildren can offer. For just a moment, the weight of what was about to happen pressed against my heart. But then I looked up and saw Jessica's face. She had stopped walking entirely, her vacation glow fading as she processed my unexpected presence. Her eyes moved from me to Patricia, taking in my attorney's professional attire and the official-looking briefcase. "Mom," Jessica's voice carried a note of wariness. "What are you doing here?" "Welcoming you home," I said, standing up and placing my hands protectively on Emma's shoulders. "How was your vacation?" David appeared at Jessica's side, his expression shifting from confusion to something approaching alarm as he noticed Patricia's presence. Tyler, oblivious to the tension, continued his animated description of helicopter tours and snorkeling adventures. Patricia stepped forward with the precise movement of someone accustomed to delivering important documents. "Ms. Jessica Chen Williams?" Jessica's face went pale beneath her vacation tan. "Yes?" Patricia extended a sealed manila envelope toward Jessica with the formal gravity of a court officer. "This is a copy of your mother's revised last will and testament, executed on June 8, 2025, along with a formal demand for restitution of misappropriated funds." The airport noise, announcements, luggage wheels, conversations seemed to fade as everyone's attention focused on the legal documents. Jessica's hands trembled as she accepted the envelope. "What is this?" David whispered, reading the return address. "Reeves and Associates, Estate Planning, and Family Law." Jessica broke the seal with jerky movements. Her vacation relaxation completely evaporated. She unfolded the papers and began scanning the contents, her eyes widening as comprehension dawned. "This can't be real," she said, her voice barely audible above the terminal noise. David leaned over her shoulder, reading the same devastating words. His face drained of color as he processed the implications. "Mom Chen," he said, trying to maintain a reasonable tone. "Surely we can discuss this. Think about Emma and Tyler. They're your grandchildren." "I did think about them," I replied calmly. "That's why I'm ensuring my estate goes to the Children's Education Foundation and the Senior Care Alliance, organizations that actually help children and elderly people instead of exploiting them." Jessica's head snapped up from the documents, her eyes blazing with desperate fury. "You can't do this to us. I'm your daughter. This is my inheritance." "Actually," Patricia interjected with professional calm, "California probate law fully supports your mother's right to distribute her estate as she sees fit. The documentation is legally ironclad, particularly given the evidence of financial manipulation and elder exploitation." "Elder exploitation?" Jessica's voice rose enough to attract stares from other travelers. "I never exploited anyone. Taking $25,000 under false pretenses and deliberately excluding the provider from the family vacation constitutes textbook financial elder abuse," Patricia replied. "The evidence is comprehensive and documented." David was still scanning the legal documents, his practical mind calculating losses. "The house, the investment accounts, everything." "Everything," Patricia confirmed. "Mrs. Chen has also filed a formal complaint with the district attorney's office regarding the misappropriated vacation funds." Jessica crumpled the papers, then immediately smoothed them out again, as if that might change their contents. "This is insane. You're destroying our family over one misunderstanding." "One misunderstanding?" My voice remained level, but I felt my late husband's spirit strengthening my resolve. "Jessica, you took $25,000 from me, deliberately excluded me from my grandchildren's vacation, and then dismissed me like garbage when I objected. That's not a misunderstanding. That's calculated betrayal." Emma tugged at my jacket, her young face creased with worry. "Grandma, why is Mommy crying? Why is everyone upset?" I looked down at her innocent expression and felt genuine sadness for what these children would face. Not because of my actions, but because of their parents, greed, and poor judgment. Sometimes adults make choices that have big consequences. I told her gently, but no matter what happens, I want you to remember that your grandma loves you very much. Patricia opened her briefcase and handed Jessica another set of documents. This is a formal demand for restitution of the $25,000 in vacation funds that were obtained under false pretenses. You have 30 days to arrange repayment before additional legal action is initiated. The family stood clustered around their vacation luggage, their happy Hawaiian memories already overshadowed by this new reality. Other travelers moved around us, probably assuming we were having some sort of emotional reunion, rather than a legal reckoning. "I'll contest this will," Jessica said, her voice hoarse with desperation. "I'll prove you were manipulated or coerced." "Please do," I said. Patricia has prepared for that possibility. The video recording of my competency evaluation should be particularly compelling to any judge, as will the documentation of your threats and manipulative behavior. David took Jessica's arm gently, his accountant's mind probably already calculating legal fees and court costs they couldn't afford. "Jess, maybe we should." "Should what?" Jessica snapped. "Should just accept that she's throwing away her family over money?" "Over respect," I corrected firmly. "Over basic human decency. Over treating family members like people instead of ATM machines to be used and discarded." Patricia closed her briefcase with finality. "Our business here is concluded. Mrs. Chen, shall we proceed to the car?" I nodded, taking one last look at Jessica's tear-streaked face. 3 weeks ago, she had walked away from me in this same terminal, leaving me stranded and dismissed. Today, she was learning that actions have consequences, that elderly people aren't disposable, and that trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt with apologies. As Patricia and I walked toward the parking garage, I could hear Jessica's voice calling after us, still trying to negotiate, still unable to accept that some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. The elevator ride was quiet, both of us understanding that justice had been served. "That went exactly as planned," Patricia said as we reached her car. "Better," I replied. Jessica revealed her true character perfectly. No court would overturn these decisions after witnessing her behavior. The drive home took us along the familiar route toward my Pasadena neighborhood. The evening sun painted the mountains in shades of gold and amber, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I felt completely at peace. My house looked exactly as I'd left it this morning, but everything felt transformed by the completion of justice. The charitable organizations would receive their notification tomorrow. The Children's Education Foundation, the Senior Care Alliance, the Educational Scholarship Fund. My money would help children whose parents worked multiple jobs, provide care for elderly people abandoned by their families, and fund education for students who couldn't afford it. Real good in the world, instead of funding more vacations I'd be excluded from. That night, I sat in my favorite armchair with a cup of tea, looking out at the garden my husband and I had planted 30 years ago. Somewhere across the city, Jessica's family was probably still processing the magnitude of their changed circumstances, still believing this was temporary anger they could eventually overcome. They were wrong. Some lessons can only be learned, never taught. And this lesson, that family loyalty is earned, not inherited, would serve them well in whatever future they chose to build. I finished my tea as darkness settled over the neighborhood, surrounded by the quiet dignity of someone who had reclaimed their self-respect. Tomorrow would bring phone calls, legal procedures, and the satisfaction of watching worthy organizations receive the resources they deserved. But tonight, I sat in my own home, in my own chair, finally free from those who saw my generosity as weakness. It was enough. It was perfect. It was completely mine.